Today I want to talk about revisionist history. This past year and a half has been quite a roller coaster for me. I went from being happy for 3 days in my marriage to never feeling that way again since then. The joy has been wiped out of my life completely. And part of that is because everything I understood about life and love and the way things worked has been turned upside down. I've had a lot of time to think and ruminate, as some may call it, about how things played out. And I keep going back to the very early discussions my husband and I would have about how we got here, and there were so many instances of him accusing me of pressuring him and of giving him ultimatums, and everything was my fault. And he even claimed we weren't engaged and that we rushed to get married. And I had to take some time to really look back and think about those accusations, because, and that's called gaslighting, when someone just completely lies about your reality, about the reality and what actually happened, and tries to convince you otherwise. But, I think about the process of getting married and the things that we did. I think about the 1.5 months of designing my engagement ring, and that process of looking at rings and eventually designing one at a pretty bespoke jeweler in the area. And his pushing that, not me. And then getting to a point where, I looked at him and said to him, you don't have to buy me a fancy ring to show me you love me. I know you love me. We don't have to prove this to anybody. We've been together for so long. Let's just get married. Let's just get married. That's what we want. That's what this, we've been living together. Let's just do that. And, when the business is doing better, you can get me that ring that we're designing. And it had come at a time where we had just closed on a recent transaction, and I saw how hard he had worked for that, and I didn't want him to put all that money, I didn't want to put his profit and money into a ring. I just thought it was like we had a home that we shared together, and we were building this dream and this life and this partnership, and I just thought it was selfish of me to have this big, expensive diamond ring on my finger. It didn't seem necessary, and I really just wanted to marry him. That was, and don't get me wrong, I like beautiful rings and I like big diamonds, but I just thought better of it and just said, this isn't what we need to be doing right now at this stage in our lives. And, and he agreed. And the engagement ring was made already, and there's an email to the designer, which is basically talking about budget being an issue. And we went back into the designer and said, could you design a wedding band that fits with this engagement ring so that we can elope, get the wedding band fabricated, and come back for the ring. maybe a year from now when things have picked up with our business. And that's what we did. We designed a beautiful wedding band, and we picked them up. It took, he picked out my diamonds from a diamond dealer and had those individually selected, and he put a lot into the ring, just getting it done right. And when we went to pick it up, they were just beautiful, and I was so delighted and happy that we had these rings. We had one box with our 2 rings, and it was like, these are our rings. I'm so happy. And he bought me a pair of turquoise and gold earrings from the jeweler that were also handmade. And I just felt so loved and special, because I'm not a gift person. My love language is quality time and acts of service. That's how I show and how I like to receive love. And, gifts are great, but I always feel kind of bad about people spending a lot of money if it makes me feel uncomfortable, or I don't know. I just don't like being the center of attention in that way. And I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's awkward. But that's me, and I'm okay with that. But I did feel really, really special, and I felt like I was kind of floating, and I kept opening the box and was like, look at our rings, they're so pretty. And he would laugh, and you could tell he got pleasure in seeing me happy. And that's a good feeling. So that was, about 2 months before we actually eloped. And we started thinking about dates, and, it was an elopement, so not a lot to do, besides get a dress, which I was going to get from a pre-owned dress place. I wasn't doing anything fancy. We were just going to elope and do something very special. And we're thinking about venues and where to go. And one thing I'd always wanted to do with us was I wanted our elders to be present for this, just because I just thought it was important that they participate and be present. And I'd mentioned that a couple of years before when we were talking about what a wedding would look like, and he had indicated wanting to do it at his one of his schools. And I thought that was great and would be beautiful, but it was so far distance-wise, and there were quite a few elderly people in our family that I thought if anybody should be there, it should be them. So I wanted to do something local that, people could drive to, or, wouldn't take too many logistics to make happen. So we started working through all those things, and he was pretty adamant about wanting a small ceremony. And at some point he said he just wanted his mom there from his parents. And I thought it was a little weird because his mom is remarried and his father was in his life and had a long-term partner of over, a couple of decades. I was the only one with a single parent. And I just was like, wait, you wouldn't want to invite all of your parents just to keep things cool? And he was just adamant about wanting just his mother there. And so I was like, well, I really think the elders should be there, like your grandparents. And he was just, no, I don't want grandparents there. I just want my mom. And yeah, I'm pretty adamant about it. And I don't know if that was just to keep things balanced because I had one parent, but it just seemed odd to me that we would do that. It felt like it was setting us up for failure and for criticism. And so I didn't like that, but it was our day. And we wound up having dinner with one of his longtime friends who had come in from out of town for a little bit. And during that dinner, he blurted out that we were getting married. And we actually hadn't even told our parents yet that this was what we were planning to do, and that we had rings, and we were trying to find a date. And I was kind of taken off guard, and I was like, wait, he just told this woman that, like, I've only met one other time. He doesn't really talk about her that much, but he just blurted out that he was getting married. And then, there were a barrage of questions, and she looked pretty surprised, and she talked about her experience where she was married and how my partner actually made a fool of himself and gotten really drunk. And, it was a funny story. But she was just asking a lot of questions. And then, he brought up that he just wanted his mom there from his side. And, I felt comfortable enough just saying, I really want more people present. And it was, she gave her her opinion, and at the end he agreed that maybe inviting, he said he would consider it, but he really just wanted his mom there. And I mean, it was our day. So what was I going to say? Like, you need to invite more people from your side. Like, I knew who I was inviting, so I just didn't want to touch that. And I just thought it was odd. But luckily his mother pushed back and just was like, that doesn't feel appropriate. I have a spouse that's been around for a long time, and he considers himself one of your parents. And, they know me, and there was no issue with, like, I've never had an issue with them at all. And then she also, raised some concerns about his father not being invited. And I was grateful for that, because after that he was like, okay, well, the parents. And I was like, great, perfect. And so we just settled on the parents, and that was fine. And we were thinking about having it a month after the rings were picked up, and, thinking about where that would be. And there was just all of these, like, moving parts where we really couldn't settle. And then it started to get cooler, and we knew that we were going to be doing something outdoors because of budget, and also, just to make it simple. And so as we got closer, and it wasn't a major planning exercise. I mean, we had these rings sitting in the house. We were slowly telling people in our lives that we were planning to get married, and that it wasn't going to be, it was going to be a very small ceremony. But it was just weird, because prior to even getting to a point where we told our parents, we had done some traveling and stayed with a couple of his relatives. I had a conference that I was going to be speaking at, and he drove me there, which was really kind of him. But we were having breakfast the last day we were in town, and he announced we were getting married. And these were relatives that were related to the parents. And I was just like, wow, like, this is a little odd. Why is he, he must be really excited about it, because he's just, like, blurting this out now. And so he said that, but we still hadn't told our parents. And I was just like, I don't understand why he would do that. Like, that just is odd. But they seemed happy for us and excited. And it felt good just to have him kind of say that. Like, I was a lot more discreet. I just the purpose of an elopement is to elope, kind of. So I just wasn't doing a lot of, like, preemptive discussions. I figured we would just give a beautiful announcement, but I kind of felt, it made me feel good that he was wanting to share this with his family. And the next weekend we had dinner with another relative, I believe a cousin and a friend, and it was